Wrong. Hello, this is Carrie O'Donnell from Tarot Soul Writer. And if you would like a personal reading with me, please go to my website, tarotsoulwriter.com. I'd be happy to do a reading for you. So today we are going to reflect on my video, April 2024, and I call this video my Eclipse video. So I begin with the ominous warning. We will remember this month as the country before the eclipse and the country after the eclipse. The eclipse, April 8th, is an important day. This eclipse ushers in great change for the United States. You will look back and you will remember there was the country before the eclipse and there was the country after the eclipse. And there is some truth to that. This isn't really a prediction. It's just more of an observation. And I do feel like that this eclipse symbolized some sort of turning point in our nation. My experience with the eclipse was actually pretty profound. I took the entire day off. It was almost like I could feel it. I could feel the energy building up. And when the eclipse, I think I was watching CNN or one of those channels that were just going to show the total eclipse right across the country. And it began in Mexico, actually, in the Northern Hemisphere. I believe Mexico was the first place to actually be full. And so, of course, they showed it on television. And I'll tell you, I wept. I'm not really sure why. To this day, I'm like, why did I have such an emotional reaction? It wasn't even like I'm seeing it live. I'm seeing it on TV. And I wept. So there was something energetic here, something that I was feeling that was underneath this eclipse situation. At my home, I experienced the eclipse at about 98%, 98 point something percent. So we didn't get the full dark effect, but you had this very weird, and it was almost like the sky turned greenish and all these very long shadows appeared, and it made me giddy. It was very interesting. It made me giddy, like I was dancing in the darkness, like something was changing, even though it was dark. I know, it's very, very weird. So I knew that the eclipse was significant. My first prediction in this video was about the January 6th trial. And honestly, I had seen this month of April as a very big turning point with Donald Trump, for the better for us, and the moment where Donald Trump's power is going to be checked. I had said that Jack Smith was going to be putting Trump on trial for the January 6 events. I had said that the truth behind January 6, like what was really going on, just all the facts of the matter, would be brought forward to the public, including key players. Jack Smith is going to take Trump to trial. This is the month the truth about the insurrection on January 6, 2021 is revealed. We see what was going on behind the scenes. We are going to see who the key players were. It's all going to be revealed. It all comes out in April. This is what did happen. As you remember from my previous reflection videos, I had gotten off track because I believe Chutkan had delayed the trial because she was going to wait for the presidential immunity ruling. This, I feel, just put me on a completely new road of energy. I think I was reading one path. Moving forward, he goes to trial, he's being held accountable, blah, 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 blah. And you will see how my predictions unfold for this month. I believe I was still on that energy train. In fact, I think it was January, we started to swerve and we took a new path, a path of delay. a path of waiting for this presidential immunity moment. These summaries are what happened with the January 6th trial in the month of April, and they come from the ABC News website. On April 8th, 2024, the special counsel, in a filing, urges the Supreme Court to reject Trump's appeal that claims he should be immune from prosecution in the January 6th case, arguing that the former president has put forward a novel and sweeping theory of immunity that lacks any historical precedent and refutes the vision of the country that the founders intended. So he was starting to fight. On April 9th, some rioters are released ahead of the arguments around the Supreme Court. So we actually had rioters that were let out of jail or let out of any kind of holding situation. On April 16th, the Supreme Court heard arguments on whether the federal government properly charged hundreds of alleged January 6 rioters with felony obstruction. And then on April 25th, the Supreme Court heard historic arguments on whether former President Trump could be criminally prosecuted related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election, with Trump's attorney arguing that the president should have absolute immunity for any official acts while in office. So as you can see, my predictions were more this information is going to go out, he's being tried, etc. And instead of the information coming out, we have moved to a different energy stream. And it was all about information being suppressed and even letting some of the rioters out of confinement. So I got this wrong, as I did most of the January 6 predictions. I just went on to build on that, and I got this Scar Lion King story about his followers. I really believed that there was going to be some news coming out through the trial situation that would expose Trump as a traitor, and then they would turn against him. And then I also felt like he would be under a trial oath situation, would say something negative about his supporters, especially those who were at the January 6th insurrection, kind of throw them under the bus. And I thought this would be a wake-up call, that moment where his hyenas turned against him. I get Trump during this time on fire, trying to move his followers to rebellion. I saw the scene from The Lion King when the hyenas hear Scar, who they followed blindly, say, and I quote, "It's the hyenas who are the real enemy. It was their fault. It was their idea. I wasn't involved." Like wiping his hands of the people not having their back. Instead, he had the rioters back during this period. Was constantly using rhetoric he had developed some months before about the rioters being hostages and how he would have them all pardoned if they would indeed elect him president again. So I got this wrong. Again, I kept getting him with fantasies of leaving the country, a plan B, especially for the month of April. I had gotten the death card, and I heard that this was about the end of his reign of terror. Let's trigger plan B. Let's go. I get a hot country like Saudi Arabia. I get Trump trying to flee. I get the word abandonment and separation from the party, from his country, from his followers. It is the end. Not literal death, but the ending of his reign of terror. I got this wrong. Because of this energy shift, Trump, in fact, started to turn around his campaign, started to get more support than he ever had. And he was moving forward full throttle to his election. So instead of him dropping out of the presidential race, he was racing ahead. I predicted that the Republican Party would split, that there would be the billionaire class, the class of Republicans that was concerned about big business, would split off from the MAGA wing. I predicted that they felt that democracy would ensure their profits would be higher, basically. That they were going to choose, not for any lofty reasons, but they were going to choose democracy and capitalism as ways to preserve their own profits. The Republican Party is going to split. The MAGAs, who are still lost in delusion and illusion, will leave the Republican Party and start their own. The old guard is going to take control because of money and business. That is what wins out, money. We will not overturn capitalism for Trump. We will not overturn democracy and lose capitalism. I get the big donors win and the party splits. I got this wrong. In fact, the billionaire class actually chose the MAGA wing of the party. I think the part I got right was the party was splitting, but the billionaires are now being put into Trump's cabinet and a new oligarchy begins to form publicly. So they did not choose democracy. I did say that Trump hated Liz Cheney and was going to be projecting a lot of energy onto her. She has won, Liz Cheney, and he loathes her. All his wrath is going towards the women who take him down, people like Cheney and Chutkin. I predicted Trump health diagnosis would be revealed to the public. In the aftermath of all of this, a diagnosis of ill health for Trump will be revealed to the public. Trump is lost to desolation and despair. Wrong. In those two predictions, I did get a lot of energy around Liz Cheney, but most of that energy was around her warning the Supreme Court that this presidential immunity ruling could have devastating effects for the union if they didn't take this seriously. I didn't really get too much projected onto her that wasn't already projected onto her. And as far as the health diagnosis, I thought there would be more mental decline. I didn't get anything in particular that was posted that came out besides his normal, I think he's losing his mind moments. Then I predicted that some of the old guard in the Republican Party would begin to retire. I did get a hit that Mitch McConnell would retire. There may be some retirements during this time, in this transition with the Republican Party. Men in the House and Senate who have gone past their time, and I kind of thought possibly Mitch McConnell could be one of these people who leave. Finally, I got something right, but I got the timing wrong. He didn't make the announcement in April. He actually made the announcement of his retirement on February 28th. I got the timing off, but I did get the prediction right. I had looked at some weather issues in the country. In particular, I got a lot of wind. Wind. I said I saw palm trees blowing. So I thought maybe there would be some big storms in like Florida or Georgia or even Hawaii. Areas at risk involve wind. I get lots and lots of wind, especially in tropical-like areas such as Florida or the Gulf region or Hawaii. I was seeing palm trees. So I do believe there's something related to wind that they need to be hyper aware of. I didn't get that, but I did say afterwards that I saw tornadoes, especially around Arkansas. I also wrote possible large tornado in Arkansas or another southern state in that area. It was like in that part of the country. Wind, lots of strong wind in the spring. That I got right. There was an outbreak of tornadoes from April 25th to 28th, including Arkansas. So that whole area of the country. I'm not really sure why I got the palm trees, but maybe it was just a symbol from my guides to show me wind or great wind. In the final message from my guides, they talked a lot about this eclipse metaphor, to kind of hang on and that the sun would come out again. And I remember getting The Grinch Who Stole Christmas as a metaphor for how we all had to get together in our circles, in our community. We had to hold the light. And we had to hold on to the spirit of democracy in our families, in our small communities. That the Grinch could steal all the money in the government, but he couldn't steal the spirit of democracy. I think the jury's out on this one. I'm not really sure if I got that right or I got that wrong, but I feel like that message is still relevant to us all. Let's hold on to that spirit of democracy. And that is my reflection on my April 2024 predictions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this video with all your friends. I'll be back tomorrow with a reflection on May 2024. Until then, you have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.